Welcome to Center Maryland Inside the Headlines. We are gifted today with one of the great innovators that's currently working in the state of Maryland, Dr. Thomas Hyde from the Lieber Institute. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Tell us about all the things you're doing over there. We refer to it as EBDI, the East Baltimore Development Initiative, but it's really a biopark for you, right?
Yes.
Talk to us about what you're doing over there.
Well, what we're trying to do is bring knowledge-based industry into Baltimore. This is a new time in the country as far as how we imagine our economic sectors are going to be developing. And one of the important advantages this country has is a superlative higher education program. And in Baltimore, we happen to have some really good, or great actually, institutions of higher learning with the University of Maryland Medical School and law schools, business schools, Hopkins undergraduate and graduate programs at medical school campuses, and then nearby University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and Towson University.
Right.
And then there's a bunch of smaller schools, Morgan State, Goucher, that are proximate. So this is really a knowledge-based area. And what we want to do is take advantage of the graduates of those programs and the faculty at those programs.
Keep them here.
Keep them here. Make Baltimore a center, a hub of biomedical research. And we have a particular area of interest that we're focused on, but we want to be an example of what can be done to leverage the intellectual and human capital assets of this region in order to reimagine and reinvigorate the economy here.
So how are you doing that day to day at the Lieber Institute?
Well, Lieber Institute was founded in 2010 after about a 5-year gestational period where we met with two main philanthropic groups, the Lieber family out of New York City and the Maltz family out of Cleveland, Ohio. Both of those families have been touched by children with severe developmental behavioral disorders that we commonly call mental illnesses, and have devoted a significant amount of their time as well as their money in philanthropic efforts in order to advance research in these domains. And they are very translationally oriented. In other words, not only do they want us to understand what is the cause of the mechanisms that underlie these diseases, but develop new treatments. And at Hopkins and our partners at the other universities in this area, we have the intellectual capital to do that. And we have great cooperation also from the state of Maryland to further these programs as well as the city of Baltimore. So we're very happy to be here. We think we are strategically located to make advances for the upcoming decade.
So you harness all of the smart minds here in Baltimore for brain science, but you're really collecting all of these smart people. You're growing. You're almost at 100 people now.
Well, we have roughly about 75 full-time employees, but we also have visiting fellows from all over the world, University of Copenhagen, Oxford University, Peking University. Those are just some of the few outstanding.
But this could become a hub of brain science in the East Coast, all the country, globally?
Globally. We are not modest in our goals. We are modest about our accomplishments and not about our goals. We want the Lieber Institute to be the hub for the global initiative into the research of complex behavioral disorders with a strong developmental component, and that encompasses schizophrenia, autism, bipolar disorder, and cognitive disabilities of all type. And these are the challenges of the upcoming new millennium, actually, to understand these disorders and return these people to a normative status to have full and functional lives. And that it's important from the human aspect, the suffering, the pain that goes on in the individuals who suffer from these disorders, as well as the family members who live with these people with these chronic disabilities. Economically also, these are terribly expensive illnesses for a social safety network.
That's right.
Because these people are not employable, they are frequently needing custodial care, they need supervision from friends, families, or state-provided caretakers because they're incapable of managing their own lives. And we feel at the Lieber Institute, as do the citizens of the state of Maryland, that we have a moral obligation to provide these people with the best possibility of a enjoyable and safe lifestyle. And so we are thinking that what we can do to help in that goal is to provide them with medications or other types of interventions that will return them to a full functional status so they will not be dependent. It makes good sense from a moral perspective, from a medical perspective, and from an economic perspective. So we have a public health imperative that we're trying to work through here.
And these are reachable, these are achievable goals. You see the people you have around you today. You see the funding coming out of Washington or not coming out of Washington, as the case may be. The private sector has been an enormous initiator fuel. But you see sort of a gravamen of activity that leads us to a path where we could actually make real progress when it comes to a disease like schizophrenia?
I have great optimism that the approach that we're taking, which is novel, will lead us to a new cadre of drugs and interventions that will help people with these disorders, that will either prevent them, cure them, or ameliorate their symptoms. So how do we do that? Why are we different than other people? Well, number one, although we are an affiliate of Johns Hopkins, we are not within the institutional structure of Hopkins. It makes us a very nimble organization. We can change focus, we can change modalities as new information comes down the pike.
Right.
And we can do that without going through 40 layers of bureaucracy.
Right.
So we
without detaching yourself from all of the resources over there.
Exactly. So we situate ourselves at Hopkins on the medical campus in the East Baltimore Biopark because of its proximity to one of the leading, if not the leading, research medical institutions in the world, not just in the United States, in the world. So we have access to brilliant faculty members, computer resources, a diversity of disciplines that we are going to bring to bear on these problems that you couldn't have if you were existing or operating in some other environment. So what does Hopkins have? They have great physicists, computer engineers, biomedical engineering, biostatisticians, disciplines that you would not or normally think is going to be involved in neuroscience or neuropsychiatric research. We're asking them to come join us, and they are. We have graduate students, brilliant graduate students, that Hopkins has attracted from all over the world who choose to work with us because of our resources and research interests on these problems.
And we get to keep them here in Baltimore.
Well, we encourage them, if they come from other countries, to get green cards and stay here. We encourage our employees to live within the city of Baltimore and the Baltimore metropolitan area. I was not born in Baltimore, Maryland, but I was raised in Maryland, so I'm very Maryland-centric. And we think that we can be a driving force in the economic rebirth of downtown Baltimore.
We saw this in places like Silicon Valley and Austin, Texas, where technology and knowledge workers were really driving the growth of a whole new city. I mean, Austin is one of the fastest growing populations in America, and you think you're telling Baltimore, you're telling Maryland, let's be brave like that. We can get this done. We can.
Absolutely.
But there's a moral component. It's not just technology and great new gadgets, but you're actually...
There's a lot of moral components to what they're doing in Silicon Valley and in Austin, Texas. So for example, if you look at Tesla, which is based in Silicon Valley, right? There's a moral imperative that we have efficient use of energy resources, that we don't pollute our air and water for future generations. And so what they've come up with is the most advanced electric car in the world, harnessing disparate development and academic disciplines in order to build this car. So they had people from Stanford University. They also had people from Google. They had people from Apple. They had people from applied, a bunch of high-tech companies that would not ordinarily be involved in the car industry come to them, and they've built a simple but elegant car, the Tesla, which was the car of the year. Not only did they design it there, but they're building it, believe it or not, in California. It's not being built abroad.
Success builds on success.
Well, it's being built in Fremont. So Fremont, which is across the bay from Silicon Valley, there happened to be a relatively modern car factory that had been, I think, abandoned by GM and Toyota. It was a joint factory, the NUMMI factory, I think it was called. And so Tesla has taken that factory, and now not only do they have knowledge-based jobs, but they actually have very high-paying manufacturing jobs in there. And I think they're cranking out Teslas at about $4,000 to $5,000 a month. They're shortly going to be selling more of these cars in the United States than car companies like Volvo. So it can be done. Not only are you going to invigorate your knowledge base, but you can also have a manufacturing base. There's no reason that we can't bring manufacturing jobs for drugs and pharmaceutical-related products into the Baltimore region.
Right, just go farther east to Dundalk and Sparrows Point.
We don't even have to go that far.
Right.
There's a lot of empty buildings around here. We situated in Baltimore because of the knowledge base. It was close to Hopkins. It was also close to NIH. And there's a lot of scientists that are on term employees at NIH that then are looking for jobs. We get the cream of the crop to come work for us. We also bring people in from around the world. And then they are contributing to the Maryland economy. We pay our employees very well. And they're living in this area. There's a big multiplier effect of what we spend here. We had to build out our laboratories. We spent millions of dollars building out our laboratories and our office spaces. We hold conferences here. We have catered events here. We use the Peabody for one of our galas. These are all ways that we are using the knowledge-based economy to enhance the overall economy of the Baltimore metropolitan area. And we think as we grow, as we bring in more partners, we're encouraging both our internal employees and our affiliates, our collaborators, to situate people here in Baltimore, whether it's on a term employment or to open up permanent operations. So we're very invested in expanding the biopark in East Baltimore. We think it's a great location.